Welcome to the Real Estate Pros Show, where we interview real estate investing professionals from coast to coast, as well as the service providers that serve the real estate investing industry. Our goal is simple: share what's working now to help you improve and scale your business to the next level and meet the pros that can help you get there. Real Estate Pros is powered by Investor Fuel, America's leader in helping real estate investors and professionals build the business you need to live the life you've always dreamed of. Let's start today's show. Property insurance for real estate investors doesn't have to be difficult, but it does need to be there to protect you when you need it. MyInvestorInsurance.com not only provides insurance at 15 to 30% cheaper than traditional agencies, it's built specifically for real estate investors like you. You can set up an account in about 2 minutes, get quotes on properties, turn on and turn off insurance for your fix and flip or rental properties in around 2 minutes without having to talk to anyone directly, all through our portal. There's no better way or faster way to make sure you've got the coverage you need to protect you, and no more lengthy policies either. Once you're set up, you're billed monthly and prorated by the day for however long your policy is active. It's powered by MSI, the third largest independent MGA, with 1.5 million customers and more than $1 billion in cumulative premiums written. Get set up today in about 2 minutes at myinvestorinsurance.com/fuel.
Hey folks, welcome back to the show. I'm your host, Dylan Silver, and today on the show I have Brandin Pettersen, mobile home park operator and investor, real estate entrepreneur. Brandin, welcome to the show.
What's going on, man? Appreciate you inviting me on and being a guest here, dude. I'm super
Absolutely.
stoked.
Absolutely. Let's start right off at the top. How did you get into the real estate entrepreneurial and investment space?
Um, there's been a while. I had a buddy who I got into it in 2009, 2010 during the recession. I had a buddy who was doing foreclosures at the time. And I was an accountant up in DC, and I quit my job, came down to Florida, moved in with him and his family at the time, and I stayed in his spare bedroom and I learned the ropes and got into doing foreclosures for the banks, did some house flipping and kind of went from there.
So, being in the foreclosure side, I can imagine you're initially dealing with a lot of people who are in a distressed situation. Was that a fit for you right off the bat? Where you're like, man, this is great. I'm able to um, deal with folks who are effectively going through a really difficult time, or was it something that was totally new and in many cases difficult initially?
Yeah, I mean, it's new, right? Because I was an accountant, so I'm sitting in an office doing consolidations and financial reports and stuff. So it was definitely new, but what really fit for me was it was just work, like I was always a good worker. And when the banks give you orders, like my buddy always taught me, like back in the days, like if you say no, someone else is going to say yes, and they're never going to ask you again. So like as the
Yeah.
banks are sending orders for what we call BPO request or property preservation request, you just say yes to everything. And eventually that did grow into where I started handling their assets. I got my license and I started handling their assets as a realtor. And at that point, yeah, that's when you're really meeting the people. Before I was either valuing the home or cleaning them out or doing those things or flipping, like I said. But once I got my license and I started working for them and I had like contracts with them to handle their properties and sell them, that's when they require you to deal with those people. And you're
Yeah.
you're dealing with squatters, you're dealing with people who are holding over, all kinds of stuff. And yeah, I mean, I saw some, this was back in the day. So this was like, they made movies about it, right? Like if you ever saw the movie 99 Homes, like, I mean, it was some sad stuff that you're kicking them out, but a lot of it was, self-inflicted. I'd roll up to houses and they would have brand new cars,
Yeah.
wave runners and lifted trucks and all kinds of stuff, and they'd be in this big stucco house, and they just spent their refinance money on
Mm,
depreciable assets, and it's hard to feel bad for those people. You know what I mean?
yeah.
So, but yeah, it was a learning experience.
Was this before or after the crash, 08, 09 time?
So luckily I came in right after the crash. So it was actually during the crash, right? It depends on who you
Mm,
talk to. I always say the trough was kind of like 11 and 12. Like we kind of hit this bottoming part going from 2010 to 11 and then 2012, and then it started to kind of tick up. So I was in there as it was crashing. People didn't know, what was going on. When we flipped homes, we were buying them for like 20, 30K, and you had to be quick. You
Mm,
weren't looking for pretty. You were looking for livable, and you had to turn it fast because you didn't know if prices were going to go back down. You know what I mean? You had to list it under what it was worth in order to entice somebody to be able to buy or to want to buy it. There
right.
was no, if it's worth 125, you're not listing it at 125. Today you would. You might even list it at 150 today just for the hell of it. But back then, if it was worth 125, you listed at 115, 119, and that way you get an offer, you take it, and the risk is off the table because people were afraid of the falling knives. You know what I mean? They didn't know if it
Sure.
was going to catch them.
So, going into that space, especially post crash, are you seeing, as a newer agent, a lot of, for lack of a better term, chaos in the market? Because you have people like you're talking about who are being foreclosed on. You have lenders not willing to lend money. You have agents who maybe had their business disrupted. And so here you are, a newer agent, and you're diving right into the thick of things. And because that's
Yeah.
all you knew, that's all you knew.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't, I always say like I cheated, right? Like, because I wasn't really an agent. Like, I wasn't like, with social media now, you see agents, open houses, selling homes. I was a foreclosure agent. So, like, I got in through my connections and I had my, so I mean, I was
Yeah.
getting listings, I was handling properties for banks. So, my perception was completely different. I was an agent of the banks. You know what I mean? Like I
Right.
was their weapon on the ground. So like, yeah, that was all I knew. And so for me, but it wasn't chaos, it was normal. I mean, for me, it fit perfectly, which is probably why I stayed in everything distressed throughout my career. It's like I
Yeah.
made the most money in bad times, like a mortician.
Stop living on an island and join the #1 mastermind in America for professional real estate investors. Investor Fuel is a community of hundreds of the nation's top investors working together to build stronger businesses and better lives. In addition to the amazing community of real estate investors acting as a board of advisors for one another, Investor Fuel members have access to 100% funding on purchase and repairs for our members only, a health insurance program, and benefits and discounts that more than pays for the membership of most of our members, meaning it's actually costing you money to not be a member of Investor Fuel. If you're looking to scale your business and build a business that allows you to live the life of your dreams, please visit investorfuel.com today and book a call with our team.
That's a fair way to put it. At which point did you yourself get into flipping homes? Is it throughout this journey, or is it
Yeah.
right away when you realize, hey, there's an opportunity here? I'm doing this for other people. I can do it for myself.
No, I mean, it was right away. So I had some money saved up and my buddy was flipping homes. So I threw some money down with him, watched him, kind of learned. And then I was buying my own stuff and flipping my own things all throughout the past now 15, 16 years.
And so your buddy, I've participated in flips. I'm in DFW Metroplex here in Texas. I've seen people flip homes. I've participated in flips, and for my money's worth, if you're the contractor yourself, it's typically the best way to do it versus handing it off to somebody else. So I'm assuming your buddy had a lot of this craftsmanship and sort of carpentry work and part of his background, or he learned it along the way.
No, 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 no. I mean, when I say I'm throwing money down, it's like, hey, you got a house, you need 50 grand, here's 50 grand, and then he's got his guys fixing up the house. It was very different back then compared to
Okay.
what people do today. It's, and you build a network of people that you do that with. It was just a very informal way of learning the ropes. I knew the guy for like my entire life. He was a friend from back in the day. So, when I got into it, that was kind of how I did things. And then you learn and you grow and you build a business out of it.
So you have the real estate, working with the banks, and on the foreclosure side, you're doing the fix and flips. And at some point in time, I'm imagining you're realizing, hey, I like one more than the other. Or were you doing both
Uh,
simultaneously for years?
no, no, it's none of that. So kind of one thing, I don't know. We haven't talked about your background, so I'm not sure what your experience is and kind
Sure.
of where your niche lies. Where is your niche? Like, what's
So
your?
I'm a wholesaler in the
Okay.
DFW area, but I also got my license because I realized that there was only so much that I could do without having deeds in my name or an LLC that I own, and I felt like if I could interface with the real estate agents more and not just be, or not just, I shouldn't say just, but not be a wholesaler alone, and that was it, that I was able to get more deals done. So I'm a newly licensed real estate agent in DFW and also a wholesaler.
Good luck, bro. Good luck. Um, So everything pivots. What you're gonna learn, or what I've learned in real estate, is everything changes, and you have to be very flexible. And I probably made a lot of mistakes in my 20s. I'm 40 now, but I probably made a lot of mistakes in my 20s, not understanding focus as well as I probably should have in something that's scalable. So, as I was coming into it, starting with BPOs and property preservation and foreclosures, that was pretty hot.
If you're looking for consistent, high quality leads, look no further than Investor Machine. Investor Machine isn't just another agency, it's the most sophisticated, data driven lead generation company on the planet for real estate investors, and serves the role of being not just a lead generator for your business, but a marketing partner that is helping you achieve your goals along the way. Go to investormachine.com to learn more and schedule a call with our team today.
But then by the time 2012 came along, that's like I said, we hit a trough. So like the onslaught of foreclosures wasn't there. My BPO order slowed down, the preservation stuff slowed, everything was slowing down, and they started getting their own systems in place, right? They were learning through the years, so big banks were consolidating their systems and asset servicing companies, and then the hedge funds came in. So then I
Yeah.
pivoted to the hedge funds, and I was selling the hedge funds properties as an agent, right? Like I would double end the deal if I had the listing, or I'd go out and find. It was all on the MLS. There was no off market back then. And then from there, like that started to slow down, but they needed someone to do their rentals. And so I pivoted into that. So it was a lot of changing as the tides of the market were changing. Because again, I wasn't a regular realtor. I didn't have, mom and dad buying houses from me or selling houses.
Right.
Eventually, I started that as I started to get contracts with different people. And then I started to grow my own brokerage. And it was at that point, dude, just to kind of like fast forward through all this like learning process stuff, it really does come down to scalability. What I learned is being a realtor, I don't want to be 50 years old showing somebody a house.
Right.
Okay, like end of story. There is no life as a realtor. There is no success. You don't see anybody driving a yacht and it's like, oh, dude, I'm a realtor. There's always something else that they do or have done. And so, kind of what it came down to is I was looking into it like you. I knew at a certain point I had to do something different. And flipping was this like, it was like a toxic relationship with me. It was like
Yeah.
that ex-girlfriend that you can't let go of. And like at the same time, like you keep going back to her and like, oh, and then you hate it and you fucking leave again. You know it's not good for you. Because what I knew about flipping was scalability. I knew single family houses and scaling flipping in a town that I live in, right? I live in like a rural town. I was like, man, it's not right. Like making 20, 30, 40, whatever, whatever you're
Yeah.
making on a flip. Like I really have to be all over the place and building a team. And then once you start building a brand and flipping, then you got to start warrantying houses and customers who bought houses from you because now you're a brand and they want to complain. And I was like, this isn't it. And I
Mm.
started wholesaling and I loved it. And I made a lot of money wholesaling. And then when you start wholesaling, I was like, this is easier than flipping. Then you
Yeah.
start wholesaling and you get to kind of where you're at. And I'm like, man, I'm leaving a lot of money on the table now
Table.
flipping. So then I'm like, let me start flipping again. And ultimately, what I realized, dude, to go bring it, and this was like a 15, probably at least a decade long journey. This was 10
Yeah.
years of like going and riding these waves of the market turning from the bottom all the way up to the height in COVID, right?
Yeah.
And kind of what I realized, same thing as being a realtor and having agents under me and and flipping and having a wholesale team, it's all transactional.
Exactly.
And when I started to look at all the people that we talk about in real estate, right? Like, I don't know what you talk about with your buddies, right? But you talk about Jeff Bezos or Elon Musk, and you talk about like all these guys who are very wealthy, and you start saying like, what is it that they did? And they
Ew.
focused. They focused on something that was scalable, something with other people's money. They didn't do it with their own money. They did it with other people's money. And they focused on something that had immense scale. And I remember listening to this Hormozy post where he was talking about a buddy who had all these different businesses and they were all making millions. And he was like, but do you think you have, I'm going to mess this up, but he was like, do you think you have one that like if you did that, it could go to, I don't know, 100 million?
Yeah.
And he's like, well, yeah, I mean, I do. If I focused on the, he goes, well, why don't you do that? And I was like, man, I was like, and I started to think of like what I could do. And at that point, I owned some commercial buildings. I owned a bunch of multifamily, a bunch of single family rentals. I was making money wholesaling and flipping, and I was all over the place. And I said, what is one thing that I can scale and how can I bring other people along? Like, because what I was doing was selfish, right? Like I'm
Yeah.
here, I'm making money for myself. Yeah, my sales team's making money, but they're not. Like anybody who's like, oh, my sales team's making money. Yeah, they're making 100 grand, 200 grand, whatever a year. Um, but at the same time, where's their residual? What are they doing that's scalable? You're
Yeah,
giving
their
them a
equity.
job. I want to give people a life. I want to give people a future, a legacy. Yeah, equity. And so that was at the point in 2020 where I started, albeit way too early. I wish I would have held on to some of my properties a little bit longer. Knowing knowing what I know now, I think
Yeah.
about one quad that I sold for like 200K that's not worth like half a million. And I was like,
Eh,
wish I would have held on
that's
that. But
everyone's
anyway,
biggest regret. Yeah.
I know, right? But like, I ended up going all in on mobile home parks. I looked at all the different asset classes and I really focused on multifamily, mobile home parks, and industrial. And I started weighing them, and then multifamily was really saturated. A lot of big players doing it, and it's just most of the mom and pops were being bought out already. Private equity was really owning it, and then the industrial, and I liked it, and I really loved industrial, but I didn't like how sprawled out I had to be to do it. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like in order to really scale, and that wasn't what I wanted. And then I found mobile home parks, and I realized it had the best of everything, right? So mobile home parks, I get everything you said earlier. I get to deal with the distressed people. I get to deal with the people in person, bad situations, right? It's affordable housing.
Yeah.
I get to do what my skill sets are, residential real estate. It's commercial, but it has all the features of residential. Rentals, individual houses, right? Like boxes, but they're all located in one area.
Hmm.
And then you're buying, you could pull together millions of dollars to buy one park, right? And you could buy them in different sizes. So I was like, man, this has a lot of flexibility, but a lot of scalability. And I started to look at the players in the game and I realized like I could really compete. And I was like, what is my uniqueness in this? And I thought I could bring a lot of what I learned through the rest of everything, and I could bring it because where a lot of people fail in mobile home parks, I excel at. I grew up and was born into this real estate world, just hustling houses and fixing up POS boxes
Yeah.
and like kicking people out and dealing with dog shit everywhere and human feces smeared on walls and like every horror story you can imagine, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of these guys had come from corporate jobs and they're complaining about having to fix up properties and getting ripped off by contractors. And
If you're a new or newer real estate investor looking to launch or grow your real estate investing business, please check out Investor Fuel Club. It's a coaching community, but unlike anything you've ever seen before. And you can actually partner with members of our mastermind from coast to coast on deals right in your market. There's no better opportunity to build a consistent business than to literally partner with pros to help you avoid costly mistakes, avoid the need for capital to do deals, and help you eliminate your fears as you're starting your business. Learn more about Investor Fuel Club at investorfuel.com/club.
they're talking about like dealing, owning the home itself and how much of a pain that is to have to deal with maintenance calls. And I'm like, well, this is like a Tuesday for me. And so I was like, this is my unique skill. And I realized that everyone had a unique skill that really scaled. And I was like, well, this is it for me. Like I blend the world. And so that's when I went all in on mobile home parks. So yes, it was a journey, pivoting all the way back. Yes, it was. And it's something like as you're on your journey, right? Like a lot
Yeah.
of guys I talk to, they all start to realize like there's got to be something more than how good was I last month? And then you start
Exactly.
over and how good are you? And it's a grind. And I didn't. I was like, I don't want to grind. And grinding by myself is no fun. Like I want to help people. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I want to bring people along. And so mobile home parks provided all of that for me.
When I've talked to people about mobile home parks, it's very interesting because there's actually uh, avenues within the mobile home park space that I wasn't aware of that probably a lot of listeners aren't aware of. You have mobile home parks that people live in. You have luxury mobile home parks. I'm not even familiar with all the avatars within the space, but and one of the benefits too is in many cases, and I'm curious to hear what your perspective is on this, Brendan, is you don't have to own the mobile homes themselves. Right, so you could just own the lot, and people can go and put their mobile home on the lot. And so, from that perspective, did you see that as a positive to it, or do you own the mobile homes themselves in the lots that you own?
What you just said is like Romeo and Juliet. It's like Montagues and Capulets, right? Like there
Yeah,
are two sides and they fight. East versus West. What's better, owning the homes or not owning the homes? There's benefits to both. every park, no matter what, is going to own some amount of homes. And it just depends on how weighted it is. So to kind of weave back to what you were saying is there's different kinds of parks. There's all age parks and there's senior communities, right? All age parks are the typical mobile home parks that you see. And then there's senior communities, which in Florida, like 55 plus. So that's kind of like your thing there, right? Now, once you have those, you break down into what's inside the mobile home park. Tenant owned or park owned. Tenant owned is what you're talking about. Like you don't own the home, you just rent out the land, and they benefit from the infrastructure and the foundation of community and set of rules that you're giving them to live in.
Yeah.
You could be any age, family doesn't matter. Senior community, same thing, right? They'll have a subset of both in there, typically more tenant owned than park owned. But then the park owned homes are rental homes. So I'll own the homes and then I rent them out. So with any mobile home park, you have two pieces of income, lot rent and home rent for total rent, right? So like even if my lot rent is simple math, $500, right? And but I have a home and I'm renting you out, you bring your home in, I charge you $500. But then next door to you, I own a home. I'm going to charge that guy $500 plus it's really nice, another 450 or $500 to rent the home.
Yeah.
So everything my maintenance piece that I run our numbers off of are all based off that extra 450 or 500, not the full 1000, just that extra little piece, and that's how you kind of manage it. Because the logic is well, if I sold this to somebody, I'd still be getting 500, but if I'm
Right.
keeping it, I'm really only profiting that
That amount.
450 or yeah, that top piece on top. So yeah, it just depends. So like I did a podcast with somebody and he's huge on cash flow and he was talking about like why he likes the park owned homes was because of the extra cash flow that they provide. They can really boost your P&L getting that extra $500 a month. But then I was, you talk to somebody else and they said, "Yeah, but then you got work orders and
Yeah.
tenant complaints and you got to fix toilets." Like
Right.
before this I just got a message somebody's flusher valve was broken and they're complaining and they need it done. Now I got to, it's my home. I got to go fix that, right?
Yeah.
Like it's a tiny little thing. I got to go on my handyman and be like, go fix this, dude. Where a tenant owned home, you're not getting that phone call,
You don't have
but
to
you're
worry.
also not making that extra $500. So
Yeah.
it
Which
kind
way
of
do you go?
depends. And so what we do for anybody thinking about mobile home parks, right, or mobile homes, I base it off of age. It's all age for me. If you're in the mid 90s or newer, right, 95, 97, or newer, I'll keep that home. If it's in the 80s, I'm probably going to try to sell it unless I'm doing a full renovation on that thing down to the guts for some reason, because I can't sell it. But generally, yeah, I'll just try to offload that thing. Like we have some nice ones that are kind of like move-in ready, but not really upgraded. I'll sell or finance or I'll rent to own that thing to somebody.
Have you looked at all into the RV park space?
So yes, RV parks. So like if we're going to start talking about like affordable housing, I believe there's only two options and it's RV parks and mobile home parks. I've been
Yeah.
saying, and I hope someone clips this and crawls back on this in 10 years or 20 years. RV parks are where mobile home parks were in the 70s. And I
Hmm.
don't mean financially. I just mean as a part of American culture and adoption and the reason why people use mobile homes. So back in the day, mobile homes were very skinny and small and they were actually mobile. You could literally hook them up and drive off. Back in my hometown, we used to have like a joke. We'd like, my house can beat your house in a race because
Ah,
like literally like you could tow your home because they
yeah.
were small. And then over time, they went from mobile homes to manufactured homes. They become more stationary, but people still want that lifestyle where they're not tied down. To
Yeah.
leave my community, bro, it's gonna cost you 5 grand, maybe 7 grand on a single wide to hire someone to pull
To
it, and
move
then
it.
you got to reset it. You lose your porch, your decks, sunroom, all those things are now those improvements are trash, and you got to start over. So really, it's very stationary, but RV
Right.
parks
Completely different.
completely different. One of our communities has a small RV lot in the back, and I love it. It kind of started jazzing me up about RVs.
In
And
general,
then
yeah.
like one of our couple of our other parks have like long-term mobiles, but you got to check with your local municipality depending on if they
Oh
allow
wow,
it. But
that's
a,
yeah.
a lot of times, if you have an empty mobile home park lot, you could just park an RV on it
RV there.
long term, require them to skirt it, boom, sign a 1 year lease, they're there. And like, so, and people love that because they
Yeah.
want to get up and go somewhere. So we have a lot of contractors. at R1. They'll come in on like 6 month or 1 year bids with like a city or highway or whatever they're doing in the area, and they'll bring their RVs with them and they'll fill up our lot and they'll stay there for 6 months or a year while they're doing the job. And it's like these things offer that. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean the RV park space again was not something that I had previously thought about as real estate investing. It just kind of radar or blinders on. I'm a wholesaler, so I hear a lot about some terms that were thrown out when I was just getting in: wholesale, Airbnb arbitrage. Of course, fix and flip, burn. But I never was hearing like in my social media feed, and it's not exactly all over the internet. Like buy an RV park or buy a distressed RV park, or that there are people who even own these that are looking to sell them. And in
Yeah.
many cases, I spoke with an investor who specifically buys high-end vacation getaway RV parks. And I was like, that exists? And he was like, yeah, man, you don't know about it. And so I was like, okay, and it was like the red car effect. As soon as he started saying
Start
that,
seeing it.
I started seeing it, especially here in DFW in Texas. And so now I'm thinking like, okay, not only is this relatively, of course, it's still a real estate investment, so there's going to be maintenance, but it's relatively lower maintenance. You have people who are on vacation, so they're going to be potentially lower maintenance anyhow because they're going to be
Yeah.
happier and in general. And if there's an issue, they're on vacation, so it's not like they're staying at an Airbnb home. They're staying at an RV park. So it's just different expectations. And then on
Whole
top of
different
that, he was telling
information.
me there's like attractions. I was like,
Yeah.
there's attractions? He's like, yeah,
Yeah.
there'll be, uh, sometimes, a facility where people can go to, sometimes restaurants. And so you're making money off of not just the RV itself or the lot, but the actual park is a money-making machine.
So I have my different feelings about what you just said. It's like,
Yeah.
you're not really, so I don't like those. And this
Okay.
is, they're great. Listen, I've stayed in some, like we're an RV family, like, and which is why once I started getting into this space, like RVs just started ticking the box for me and my family. And like, but I want to stay in my own parks and stuff. But anyway,
Yeah.
so like I've stayed in some and they have like I stay at one up in Auburn where my daughter goes to college and like so when we go up there we'll stay in this park. Dude, they have like concerts and they got a jumbotron and they got showers and laundry room. They have a general store. They have a little gas station up front. They do, they bring on game days. They bring the cheerleaders come down and like, I mean, dude, it's wild. Like everything that they do, it's it's not real estate. It is
Yeah.
a customer service hospitality. It is Airbnb on steroids without the maintenance. I think for anybody who loves hospitality and has that customer service knack and is like, man, I could really make people happy on their vacation, that is a play. That is the best play in my mind because you get the best of everything, I think, in
Yeah.
that. But it is a full-on, multifaceted business. I mean, I know some guys in our space that like, dude, they have like they they have RVs that they rent out, right?
Hmm.
They have the empty lots they rent, but then they have physical RVs. They have like what do you call it? Glamping stations and tents. They have like the retail grocery store and like what do you call it? Like a camp store thing where they're selling merch. Dude, it's like
Crazy.
Jesus, this is like a whole like I couldn't even what I like on the RV parks we look at and like when they add into mobile home stuff is the long term. I
Yeah.
like long term. Like I was looking at an RV park in Georgia and it was phenomenal. It was on a lake. They do canoes and they do like rafting. Oh, not rafting. I'm sorry, canoe guides and river guides and all that. And the wholesaler was like, "Do you like it?" And I'm like, "Dude, I love it. I'm just not in the hospitality space.
I'm not
One
the
day,
hospital guy.
yeah, one day maybe I have a business that can handle that, but that would be me changing the entire structure of our
What I'm
processes
doing.
and businesses to make something like that work. But for a long-term RV, I could plug that into my existing system. I could buy an RV park for long term and follow the same protocols I do for mobile home parks.
Yeah, to your point, Brendan, I think a lot of people don't understand that certain avatars within the real estate space, you have to actually love being a host. It's
Yeah,
not just,
I don't.
yeah,
I don't.
if you don't love being a host, even
Yeah,
just Airbnb, like Airbnb in general, if you got lots of Airbnbs and
yeah.
you're managing it, if you don't love being a host, then it might not be for you because you're going to be dealing with, lots of
It's like being a
changeovers.
waiter at a restaurant.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. If you
So
can't do that, like I always equate it. If I can't, I was never a waiter, dude. You want to send your food back to me? I throw it in your face and say, "You can eat what I'm giving you." Like that'd be, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
but there's you're right, a certain type of person that could excel. And I know a few people, and they just are great at that.
yeah.
And that's their personality. And I think that's a great avenue. It's just not for me.
Brendan, we're coming up on time here, but you've given us some great value. Talked a lot about the mobile home space, RV park space, your journey, how you scaled into where you are in real estate today. Where can folks go to get a hold of you?
You can follow me online at MHP Operator or go to my website, themhpoperator.com, and subscribe to my newsletter, my blog.
Brendan, thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate you spending some time with us here today.
Yeah, I appreciate you too.
Thanks for joining us for today's Real Estate Pros Show. You can learn more about the amazing benefits of the Investor Fuel Mastermind community, including surrounding yourself with hundreds of other rock stars, 100% financing for your deals, and members-only discounts from vendors you're likely already using that, as a member of Investor Fuel, will save you more than the cost of your membership. Visit investorfuel.com to learn more. If you're interested in joining us as a guest of this show, please visit investorfuel.com/pros to apply. You can also check the show notes for access to free resources, how to get access to world-class lead generation, and much more. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss another episode. Have a great day. We'll see you on the next show.